Hey guys, it's Jimmy Lloyd. I'm one of the pastors at Fairlawn Church. And no, behind me, it is not a green screen. This is real, and it's beautiful. We're at Lake Yale right now for CFO camp. We've got several people from Fairlawn Church with us, and having a great time. Beautiful, beautiful, obviously beautiful place, and just lucky to be here. This is a segment that we like to call Short and Sweet. It's where we take just a little part of our message from the past Sunday and we throw it out there, just a summary of it. So if you don't have time to watch the entire message, you can just catch the short and sweet. Now, if you do want to watch the whole message, we have it on our YouTube channel and we also have it up on Facebook. So check it out sometime when you have enough time. But I spoke on the subject of just a stick this past Sunday. And I don't know if you've ever been in the place where it's just like, I'm just not good enough. Like, I don't have really enough to offer. You know, I'm not like so-and-so. We start comparing, and right now we have this something that's the last few years that we didn't have back when I was younger, or when I was a kid, is this digital scoreboard called social media, where we can just constantly compare ourselves to everybody else. And we think, well, I don't speak as well as that person, or I don't sing as well. I don't have the kind of gifts that person has. And, you know, God really, what can he do with me? But in the book of Exodus, we see where there's this dude named Moses. Maybe you've heard of him, pretty popular guy. And he is, at this point, running from God. He has camouflaged in the wilderness, and he's spent 40 years there running from his calling, running from his purpose. The Israelites, the Jewish people, have been captive, and they've been in bondage in Egypt for 400 years. God's about to set them free, and he's going to use this dude named Moses to do that. That's his purpose, to be the leader of this movement that gets them out of Egypt. And where is he at? He's out in the wilderness, hiding from God. And all he has is his sandals, and he has his walking stick, and God speaks to him through a burning bush. And you know what he tells him? He says, take your sandals off. As if he was saying, Moses, it's time to stop running. And today, that's what I believe that God is saying to you. If you find yourself in that place where you're running from God and running from your calling and from your purpose, God's saying it's time to stop running. And now is the time to allow me to use you for your purpose and for your calling. And then he asked Moses, after he takes the sandals off, he says, and Moses is like, well, you want me to go speak to Pharaoh? You know, I'm not that good in speech. You know, how about if they say, Lord, you didn't really talk to the Lord. You didn't really speak to God. Yeah, sure, God spoke to you through a burning bush. Okay. How about if they don't believe me, God? And God tells them, well, what's in your hand? And he's just like, just my walking stick. And God said, throw it down. Use that. Moses throws it down and turns into a snake. And I love the next part of it. It says that when this walking stick turned into a snake, it said that Moses ran. I relate to Moses so much at this point because I hate snakes. Any kind of snake whatsoever. Even just now thinking about it, I'm looking around and I'm like, with all these trees and stuff, I mean, it's like there could be snakes, or probably are snakes out here. But I am absolutely terrified of snakes. And so I get it. Like, if I threw down a stick and it turned into a snake, I would run too. But then God tells Moses to pick it up. And he don't just tell him to pick it up any way. He says, pick it up from the tail. Now, I am in no way or will ever be a snake handler. I guarantee you that. And but I do know from maybe National Geographic or something that if you are going to pick up a snake, you don't pick it up from the tail. It'll swing back around and bite you. You do not do that. You pick it up from the head. Well, God tells them to pick it up from the tail, and I believe that it was as God saying, you handle the small end, because the tail's the small end, right? And God's saying, you handle the small stuff. You handle the small end. Let me handle the big stuff. And I believe that's what God was saying to Moses, is I will handle the big stuff. You just handle the small stuff. Now, we know the story, or you may know the story, is when Moses goes to Pharaoh, he takes his brother with him, and at that time, It's Moses' brother, Aaron's stick that he throws down, and it turns back into a snake, and it gobbles up the magician's snakes, and we know that. But the main thing I want to talk about and really hit hard on and address is the biggest miracle of this story is not that the walking stick, could turn into a snake. Is that when they picked it back up, the snake could turn back into a walking stick. And I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but it's happened to me. God starts using you. He comes down, he partners with you. I don't really like using the word uses, because a lot of times we think of uses as like, someone's going to use me, and then when they're done with me, they just throw me away. God doesn't do that. But God comes in and he partners with you. But after a while, it's kind of easy to get like, well, kind of doing this on my own, I mean, yeah, I know God's in it, but there's a lot of Jimmy in it too, and after a while, it's just, you become like a big deal to yourself in your mind, but I've found, and I've known, and I've seen people where it's sometimes the trick is, the hardest thing about it, and the biggest miracle is, can you go back to being a stick after God used you in the supernatural? After God did something significant with you? After God did something supernatural with you? Can you go back to being a stick? Or are you constantly looking for the supernatural? I mean, there are Christians, there are church folks that have spent their entire church life chasing the supernatural. Oh, there's a revival over here. Oh, people's getting healed over here. And they run from one church to the other, or one place to the other, going miles and miles and miles out of their way, because the supernatural is taking place over there. And it becomes about the goosebumps. It becomes about the supernatural. It becomes about the snake, the big supernatural, the big miracles. And the whole time, that's not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about a relationship with Jesus. But it's so easy to get focused on the supernatural and drawn to and addicted to the supernatural, instead of just having a relationship. That's what Jesus wants to have, a relationship with you, a real relationship with you. And you know what? I'm going to end it here, but you're going to have a lot more stick days than snake days. Snake days being the supernatural, the big days. You're going to have a lot more stick days than snake days. So how are you going to react during the stick days? Or are you always just going to be about the supernatural, about the big things? Can you go back to being just a stick?